What to expect at this year's 26th annual St. Louis Jewish Film Festival. We'll have details next on City Corner. I'm Steve Potter, and welcome to City Corner. Well, the St. Louis Jewish Film Festival is coming up June 6th through the 13th. And here to tell us more about it, please welcome Jay Goldstein. Hi, Jay. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you very much.
And what part do you play in the festival, Jay?
We have a committee of about 20 people who screen the films. And one of my jobs is to screen the films that the committee sees. So I get to view a lot more films that I think would be appropriate for the festival. So some I like, some they don't like, and that's how we get to the 13 films.
Yeah, well, if you have 13 films in the festival, how many films do you see before you choose?
I think this season I've probably viewed at least 30 films, 35 films. The committee views them too, views of the ones that the pre-selection, which is what me and Paula Siegel does, and then the whole committee now virtually sees the films, and then we discuss them. And at the end, we rate them and try to have a balanced festival.
Wow, that's got to be time consuming, but well worth it, I'm sure. I'm just curious, like when you see all those films, is it always like a hard choice, or do you see one you go, no, definitely not? Or are they all good and you kind of have to?
No, there's some films that won't make the cut for a lot of reasons. They're just a terrible film. And then other films, we try to do a cross section of films. The festival this year has a film, and we'll talk about them, but it has about young adults. It has about the history of anti-Semitism. It has a comedy, drama, documentaries that I think the St. Louis community will have a lot of interest in.
Would you give Diana a shout out? She couldn't be here today, so I just wanted to acknowledge her.
Diana is the new leader, and she did a fantastic job for the first go round.
And this is the 26th annual, right?
Correct. 26th annual. I've been with the committee for been back 8 years.
A couple of things I just want to, we're going to talk about the films here in just a moment. But you call it a Jewish film festival. So what qualifies a film to be in the Jewish Film Festival? And that's part of my question. The other part of the question is, I know you don't have to be Jewish to appreciate these films or understand them. So can you explain all that?
Well, I think that part of the Jewish Film Festival community, if a film is from Israel or if it has some kind of Jewish content, but it's open to the whole community. Like there's a film here, and we'll talk about it later, that is about autism. So anybody, can relate to that film. It has nothing to do with Judaism. And then there's another film about young people, and one isn't Jewish and one is Jewish, and that relationship. And so I personally think it's a festival for the entire community. It just gets the Jewish name because it's affiliated with the J, and films from Israel and Europe and America, so.
So it doesn't matter if I'm a Baptist, a Catholic, or an atheist. I'm still going to enjoy the films.
The more the merrier. Believe me, the more the merrier.
Well, let's talk about a few of the films that are coming up at this year's festival, which again is June 6th through the 13th. Oh, before we do that, though, I do want to make a point, and we'll try to go over it again later. Obviously, things are different this year because of the pandemic. So you're doing this virtually for the first time. Can you explain how that's going to work?
We did it last year.
We did.
Yes, and I think you sometimes you miss the reaction in a movie theater. It's dark, it's a big screen, but a lot of these films are made for the smaller television screen, even if it's 60 or 72 inches. They're just great stories. And I think the fact that it is in your own home, it's comfortable, and you can get the family to watch it. It's just it's a great venue now, I think. My personal opinion is.
And if I understand it right, it's not like, you're going to theater at 7 o'clock on Tuesday. During the length of the festival, people can watch whatever movie they want at whatever
In
time.
any order, right, at any time. And there's a couple, I think there's one film that's only the producers are letting it screen for the first 2 days of the festival. But otherwise, and some are limited to the Missouri, Illinois area. People, from St. Louis who are living in California might not be able to watch all of the films.
And real briefly, and I'll ask you this again before we're done, but the Eventive virtual site, can you kind of explain that and how that works?
It's a company that does the films for us. So the way the best thing is to go to St. Louis Jewish Film Festival.org, and they will give you a much better explanation of the technical aspects of it. But once you get the pass, you'll get it in, and then you can watch the films all the way through.
That makes it easy, doesn't it?
Right, and it's events, events.jccstl.com.
Okay, I'll ask you that again later.
No problem.
Let's talk about see how many films we can fit in during our little visit together, and just kind of tell me the background or whatever you know about it, since you've seen them all.
Yes.
And the first is Breaking Bread. Excuse me. That's Breaking Bread, and it's about food and politics, sort of.
Sort of. This woman, Dr. Atamna Ismail, is the first Israeli Muslim woman to win Israel's version of Top Chef. So she's a cook and a doctor. And she put together this festival, bringing an Israeli and a Palestinian or an Israeli Arab together. And they mix the food together. And what you see in the film, and without giving too much away, the documentary, is how it works, how people can get along. Even the food is different, they still can get along. And it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I think food definitely brings people together. There's no question about that. Another movie in the festival is Service to Man. And as I understand it, it has something to do with how we measure success.
Service to Man is a little more than that. It's a story of a young Jewish man from Brooklyn who gets into the only medical school he's accepted to is Mahari, which is in, I think, Memphis or Nashville, I'm not sure. And the film talks about the story of relationships between Black and white, how he feels strange, how Black students see him and vice versa. And it takes place in the 60s and the beginning of the civil rights movement. And it's an interesting story, very interesting. I think the JCRC is sponsoring it, and there's going to be a discussion about the film, so you can learn more about it.
It seems like a very appropriate and timely topic these days, doesn't it?
Very, very timely.
Yeah. Love It Was Not.
It's an interesting film because it's a Holocaust film, and it's about a relationship between a commandant and a Holocaust victim. And without giving too much away, she survived, and then he goes on trial. So it's a different type of Holocaust movie. And it's a true story.
Oh, really?
The documentary.
Anti-Semitism is another movie. The name kind of says it right there, doesn't it?
Correct. And it's basically, from the beginning, it's anti-Semitism in France, and it starts at the very beginning and goes all the way up to present day. And it has while the film takes place in France, it has very much meaning of what's going on in our country right now with
Yeah,
the white nationalism.
I was just going to ask you that. You jumped ahead. I was just going to ask you if that's something that we can kind of relate to, and definitely.
I think it's an important film. One I think the whole family could see and understand because we talk about anti-Semitism, but we don't know how it started, what's ingrained, and especially what's going on in today's current climate.
Jay, you bring up a good point I was thinking about. You said appropriate for the family. What about overall the films in the festival? Are all films appropriate for everyone, or is this something we need to kind of check out ahead of time?
I think you should read about the film, and some are appropriate for uh, 12, 13, 14, and some aren't. Just from the nature. But I would suggest the parents read about the film and double check. But
Right.
the brochure tells it all.
And since this is all done virtually and people are watching these at home instead of in a theater, I don't know if you tell me, I don't know if this is true for all the films, but you're having like virtual discussions at some point about
Yes.
the films where if somebody wanted to get involved in that, they could.
Right, and it's after the films, and Anti-Semitism is having a discussion, Service to Man is having a discussion, Breaking Bread is having a film discussion with Ben Baraba, who's one of the St. Louis's foremost chefs, and interesting. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember what else,
That's okay. People can just go to your website if they want details about that. Now, there is a fee for this too. And do you do all this ahead of time?
You can do it ahead of time, yes. There's an all-access pass, which is $95, and that lets you see the whole festival, as opposed to a single price is $14 for a film. So basically, if you were to buy every film, it's like $350, $325. For $95, you're getting one hell of a deal.
Mm-hmm. I think people will have fun with this. Don't you think they'll invite a couple people over and make some appetizers and kind of make a night out of it?
I think between family, friends, a date night, especially now that people have gotten vaccinated and people want to see other people. And I think it's a great way to have a party or something. And then to have discussions. A lot of the Jewish Film Festival films lend themselves to discussion. It's not like a Marvel super film, but a lot of these films have great discussions afterwards.
Well, we're talking about the St. Louis Annual Jewish Film Festival. Jay, hang on. We're going to take a short break and come back and talk more about the movies people can see. Stay with us on City Corner.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. so he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it here. So what are you waiting for? Just go to the site.
Selfie. Nailed it.
Visitors and residents love the St. Louis Zoo because it's free. There's a train, a carousel, opportunities to make new friends, and plenty of fun learning experiences with the animals 363 days a year. So come and experience St. Louis.
I'm Steve Potter. Welcome back to City Corner. And today we are previewing and talking about the upcoming 26th Annual St. Louis Jewish Film Festival with Jay Goldstein. And Jay, we were running down some of the movies that people can see. Again, this is virtual and people need to make these arrangements ahead of time. And the best thing is to go to your website, right?
Right, which is, let me get that out, stljewishfilmfestival.org.
All right, let's go back to the list of movies and you can tell us a little bit about them. This is one, it's an interesting pronunciation. It's Aulcie, A-U-L-C-I-E. What does that mean? I know this has something to do with an athlete, right?
Yes, Aulcie is one of the first African-American basketball players recruited to play in Israel. And he was part of the 1976 Maccabi Tel Aviv team that defeated the Russians in the European Championship. So he was like a national hero in Israel. And the film shows him dating an Israeli supermodel and then getting caught up in drugs, going to prison. And he also finds that he didn't know about a daughter that he didn't know he had, and the relationship back to him. So it's a great story. It's a great human heart story, something that a lot of people don't know about. You know, you can be a sports fan, or you can just be a great, it's a wonderful documentary about someone who been to the heights, falls down, and gets back up. Just a great, great movie.
I think there's a lesson for all of us there, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. How about Howie Mandel? Everybody knows who Howie Mandel is.
Right, that's, but the interesting thing, I don't know if everybody knows about his quirks, about his germaphobe, and it takes him from the very beginning in Canada to all the way up to America's Got Talent, and it's funny and it's interesting. Just you know, a Canadian star in America.
I knew who he was for a long time, of course, and I know him from American Idol, but what are some of his quirks? I'm just dying to know.
He's a germaphobe before he even became popular. I mean, he is an actual germaphobe, and he had some other quirks about his comedy routine. And if you watch the film, you'll find out how he got started. He isn't your typical stand-up comic.
Right. Well, this last year with the pandemic must have driven him crazy.
In fact, he was probably the only one ahead of the curve, you know.
He was crazy before the pandemic.
Right, and the pandemic said, everybody's joining me now.
That's Howie Mandel. But Enough About Me is the name of the movie. Howie Mandel, But Enough About Me. Here's a movie, and it has something to do with fatherly love, which sounds sweet. Here We Are.
Here We Are is one of my favorite films, and it's a story of a father and his autistic son. And as the son gets older, I think the family wants him to go into a sort of a community home where other people with autism and he can grow a little bit more. But I don't think the father is ready to give up. So it's like a little road movie. And it's just, I think it's a sweet, and it says a lot about autism and the relationship between a father and his son.
Well, Jay, you said it was one of your favorites. How come it hit you that way?
Well, because I just think the relationship between a father and a son, and for me personally, I lost my dad when I was 12. So, mom raised two boys. So when I see the love stuff, it just hit me very differently.
Yeah. And of course, a lot of people are touched by autism, so that'll probably hit a few chords there.
Right. And in fact, there's a show, I think, coming on HBO about three, and it's an Israeli film about three autistic people living together. I can't think of the name, but yeah, I'm sure you'll look it up.
Yeah, that sounds like that'd be interesting. This next one, I'm just guessing by the title of it. If it's not a comedy, I'll be surprised. Kiss Me Kosher?
It's a comedy. Yes, it's it's basically it's a sweet film. It's about a relationship, a lot of relationships, about two girls, one Jewish, one not Jewish. She's German. It's just a sweet, sweet movie. It's funny and it says a lot of things about relationships.
Yeah, doesn't it have something to do with we've probably all been there, like two people that are together, but maybe really don't belong together. They just don't fit right.
Well, I think they fit right. It's other people who don't think they fit right. It's they fit right, but it's the people, their families, who see it a little differently.
Yeah, and the families are the ones that can ruin it for you sometimes.
Absolutely. But
yeah. All right, I'm guessing this next one is not a comedy. The Good Nazi, and there's so much to say about that right there.
Right. Well, it's about a Nazi officer named Karl Plagge, Plagge, and he arrived in Vilnius, Lithuania. And during the occupation, he basically instead of sending Jews off to camps, he worked and he got them jobs in this factory. And it's an archaeological film, and it's just, it's a Schindler type film, and everybody probably has seen Schindler's List, but this one has a little different feel to it since Schindler wasn't an officer, and this guy was.
This next one is billed, Jay, I want to ask you about it. It's billed as a warning letter to the world. So I want you to explain that. And the name of it is The Last Supper.
Okay. And it takes place in Germany right before Hitler came to power. It starts, and the family, Jewish family, a well-to-do Jewish family, sits over a dinner, and you find out that one of the children wants to go to Palestine, and the son is a follower of the Nazi party. He likes what the Nazis are doing. And why it's a warning to the world is because you can see what's been going on in Europe, in some parts of this country, where basically people don't seem to want to listen to one another, don't want to talk to one another. They just go to their corners and come out fighting, which is sort of sad. And why it is a warning to the world. If you don't listen to one another and listen with an open mind as opposed to a closed mind.
It's a good message. Another movie at this year's St. Louis Jewish Film Festival is the Starry Sky Above the Roman Ghetto. You'll have to explain that.
Okay, well, it's a really interesting film because, and anybody who's been to Rome has probably, in sightseeing, gone to the Jewish ghetto. And the story is about these young people who find a suitcase, and in the suitcase is pictures, and they want to find out the story of these people. And the young people find out that when the Germans occupied Rome, they gathered up 1,600 Jewish Romans, and of the 1,600, I think 1,200 died in concentration camps. So it's done in such a way that you have young people finding out, you have Jewish, non-Jewish, finding this history out together. And I think it's a great story. And this is one of the stories that I think the family can sit together and watch.
We're almost out of time, Jay, so we're not going to get to every movie, but briefly say something about The Crossing. And this is about loyalty and courage, something we could all use a little more of.
And it's a story of 4 young children, 2 non-Jews, 2 Jews, and they try to escape to Norway. And it's an adventure story, but it's told from the children's perspective. It's great, great movie.
So Jay, again, could you remind people, it's a little confusing. Well, it is to me anyway, when things are virtual and stuff. This is the 26th annual St. Louis Jewish Film Festival. It's virtual this year. So could you kind of go over all that again, what people need to do to be a part of it?
Yeah, the best way to get everybody involved, and I'd like the whole community to get involved, Jews, non-Jews. It's a wonderful festival. Go to STLJewishFilmFestival.org, and they will give you all the information, or you can call up the JCC, and they will give you further information on the film festival.
So someone will actually talk to you.
Yes. Yes.
Jay, I just have to think, this is such a big deal. Are you already looking at movies for next year?
I started reading about some films. So yes, we're probably going to get together next week and find out when we're going to start reviewing films.
What do you enjoy about this the most?
Previewing the films. I'm a movie buff, and I miss theaters, but virtual, I think, for these type of films is great.
Jay Goldstein, thank you so much for joining us and previewing the St. Louis Jewish Film Festival. We haven't seen all of them, but go to the website. You can look them all up in their trailers and things. Jay, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And everybody go see a movie or see it virtually anyway. I'm Steve Potter. That's it for this edition of City Corner. Thanks for watching. Join us next time. Bye.